second speaker for the session, Mr. Supratim Banerjee. Supratim sir, welcome sir. Sir, your audio is not audible.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes sir, perfectly. So welcome sir to Jagran Lake City University and especially to this webinar series. And thank you so much for being the part of this wonderful series that we are organizing for the students and the attendees at large.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, sir, to introduce, sir, what we have done that we have planned this session into three particular halves. The first of such thing would be that how the particular things have been taken care of. So, the first half would be a introduction to the topic by our expert. The second would be a dialogue between the moderator and the presenter. And third will be open with the particular sessions and the questions if which the attendees have. So that is how we are planning for those particular things that in the loop we can have this in the session.
Right. Are
so
you
before
able
moving
to see my screen?
Yes sir, your screen is very much visible and it is very
Okay.
much shared there. So to start the session, I'll take this opportunity and very quickly I'd like to introduce the speaker for the session. Mr. Supratim Chakraborty is a partner in the corporate and commercial practice group of the Khaitan & Co. He specializes in corporate and commercial transactions such as mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, and general corporate law advisory. Supratim has advised eminent clients in relation to the information technology laws in India, including data privacy and cybersecurity related issues. He has advised several clients on anti-bribery, anti-corruption law related issues as well. He has been the part of several prominent mergers and acquisition transactions and assisted domestic as well as foreign clients in structuring, drafting, negotiating, and implementing complex details. Moving ahead, there's one just information which I felt and I was very influenced by it in his CV, which says that he is a certified GDPR data protection officer, and which is something that is a need when we come to this particular thing. So without wasting much of my time, I'll request Supratim sir that if he can please start with his presentation.
Right. Thank you very much. And before I start, I would take this opportunity to thank the college, the organizers, and all of you who are collectively devoting this time to be a part of this presentation. I'm hopeful that I'd be able to add some value. Before I begin, I think let us address the elephant in the room in relation to opportunities in corporate law and what is in store in the new future. So believe me, there is a lot of flux, there is a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of I would say anxiety in everyone's mind right now, especially students who would be right now coming out of the college and would be looking for an opportunity, or perhaps already have an opportunity at hand and would like to now get started with the professional life. I'm quite optimistic. I'm optimistic by nature, and as they say, that never let a good crisis go waste. I am a true believer in that. So if you would have seen anyone giving a long jump, you first need to step back and then give that jump. So to my mind, this is an excellent opportunity for everyone, whether it is a professional or it's a student, to take a few steps back, sharpen your skills that would be helpful for your future, and accordingly prepare. But there is a lot of information overload that is happening right now. So my suggestion to all of you would be that whilst it is important for you to gain knowledge, don't try to assimilate any and every knowledge around you. At the end of the day, you would perhaps gain nothing or very little out of it. So be very focused on what exactly do you want out of your career, your future. Accordingly, focus on this. For example, let me speak about some personal experiences in relation to internship requests or job requests that I have received. When I look at the CV, the student would have done space law, international environmental law throughout, and not a single corporate law internship or job experience or work experience. But they suddenly want to do mergers and acquisitions. Why? Because it's a very lucrative career. You get paid well, etc. So point is that it is a structured approach that you should have right from the beginning. And if all of you are fine with it, possibly I will touch upon a little bit on internships and how to structure and how to look at it. Will that be fine, Devanshu?
Yes, sir. That would be perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I think, because, there is some bit of time, of course, we would like every one of you to, ask questions. You can put it in the chat box, I believe, and, otherwise also ask. But I would like to take this opportunity to really make you all understand that it doesn't start the job hunting or job opportunity related aspects does not start the day you are stepping out of the college. It starts much before. Sometimes it could start right at the moment when you have got into the law college. You can start thinking about the opportunities that you would prefer better than others. um, it's just like reading several books in the library to understand at the end of it which book would you would prefer, or which genre would be of interest to you. Because remember, after your college life, this is something that you would do for your entire life. So you have to be really interested in this. It is not something that it's a small internship of a month, and after that you would be able to easily change tracks and do something else. It is slightly difficult. So my suggestion to all students is that start thinking about which area of law attracts you right from the beginning. Structure your internship plans in a manner so that you get a flavor of most of the areas of law by the time you are in third year or maximum fourth year, so that by the time you are ready to get out of college, you are absolutely certain that which area you are going to, which area really appeals to you most. uh, what would be the new future? See, the new future would be quite different, and all of us are kind of trying to do a crystal ball gazing. But my suggestion to all of you is, if you really want to look out for areas which are uh, new, which are more in demand than others, do a bit of research. For example, look at IT or technology related laws, look at cyber security, look at data privacy, things like these. The more we are moving into a digital world, there would be more requirement of lawyers who know how technology works. Believe me, there is a huge dearth, not only in our country, even globally. When so it was just mentioned that I am a GDPR professional. Even in the European Union, it was found out that lawyers did not have very good knowledge about technology. So if you are able to speak the language, the same language as the tech guys would, believe me, you would really score over the others. So watch out for these opportunities, these areas which are right available there. Own your skills, and believe me, there would be enough and more which is happening after this this COVID-19 situation. For example, people were talking about dearth in mergers and acquisitions and transactions. Because of this stress that is there in the market, there is a high probability that right after this situation there would be assets which would be available at a much lower price, and therefore a lot of consolidation, a lot of acquisition could happen. So look at the brighter side of it and not the gloomy side of it. And I'm very hopeful that we will soon bounce back. So with that, I will get started with the presentation. So there has been a paradigm shift in a corporate lawyer's role, really. So you have to be, sorry, just one second. Yeah. So we are expected to advise not only on law but also on commercial aspects of the transaction. Okay, so the lawyer's role is changing quite a bit in corporate law. You have to play a proactive role throughout the transaction. You have to be meticulous in drafting and positive in negotiations. We have seen several times lawyers throwing tantrums and shouting and yelling in negotiation rooms, it does not help any side. You have to be very positive in your approach, do your negotiations in a very composed manner, and that is how you will stand out. Work towards a successful completion. Everyone wants a successful deal, right? Unnecessarily, there is no point in flexing muscles or showing legal prowess. Analyze the legal issues in light of past, present, and possible future law and policy considerations. Very, very important. Look at the COVID situation, number of laws, number of new regulation changes that are taking place. So if you are doing a transaction in this times, you have to be very careful what has been the past law, what is the present law, and possibly what could be the future law. And accordingly, you have to craft your, your language of the agreement of documents. Who would have thought that force majeure would become such an important clause? It was always told that this is a midnight clause. Juniors in the organization used to copy paste from some draft and used to put it forth quickly to the senior for a review, and it used to go out. But now look at this. This is the most critical clause that is being looked into with huge introspection. Whether there is a word called pandemic, is there epidemic written, things like those. So very, very interesting times. I can give you one real life example from my life. I had given this work to one of my juniors to draft a service contract, service, and we were representing the service recipient. Okay, so the junior of mine prepared a nice draft, may have picked up from some good precedent, brought to me, and I saw there was a 1.5 page of force majeure clause. Now, can you understand the difficulty, the fiasco that has happened? I am the service recipient. So in all probability, the only force majeure event could be that would be relevant for me is inability to pay. But for the other guy who's supposed to give some service or product, for example, let's say manufacturing of a particular product, for that person, force majeure would be an avenue available if it is widely worded with many, many elements. For example, labor unrest, in a lockdown, etc., etc. So that person can possibly engineer a situation where they would say that there is a force majeure. So you have to understand, it is not only about picking up a precedent and start drafting. It is also understanding which side of the transaction you are representing, and accordingly tone up or tone down that particular clause. If you have a huge force majeure clause with a lot of avenues to wriggle out, the service provider would easily wriggle out or with minimal obstruction, because it was not thought through before appropriately. Synthesize the material, since many issues are multifaceted and require combination of different elements of diverse elements into a coherent whole. Give intelligent counsel on legal requirements and solutions. Write and speak clearly. Okay, this and negotiate effectively. I keep telling this, that remember why God has given us 2 ears, 2 eyes, and only 1 mouth. Okay, it's the 80-20 rule. Speak, at the end. First, hear everything, observe everything around you, and only then speak in a negotiation. And remember, perspectives may differ. So for you, being a merger and acquisition lawyer, a corporate lawyer, you have to make people understand the perspective. So this is a classic example where a person could be thinking that this is a merger, where the other party could be thinking that this is an acquisition. Sound advocacy skills are absolutely essential. Listen to your client, colleague patiently and closely. Let the client talk. I just gave that example of 80-20 rule. Mastery over facts of the case are very essential. Orderly arrangement of mental and physical aspects, eye for detail, assimilate, quick uptake, retention of content, ability to reproduce at the right time in the right manner. This is your intelligence, really. Study the law very, very carefully. Review the Bare Act first. Okay, read the Bare Act first. Commentaries and interpretations and all of that would always come later. That's my philosophy. Chalk out the plan of action. Thinking phase must always precede the drafting phase. On the drafting, because corporate lawyers have to do a lot of drafting, my philosophy or principles that I would like to convey to you is that avoid verbosity, write short sentences which are readable, language using familiar words, put the words in logical order, avoid negative language to the extent possible, punctuate properly, and at the end proofread or cold read the document. Very, very critical. Again, one example from my life, I will tell you, I was doing a huge transaction, and what happens is people negotiate, and suddenly when everything has come to a conclusion and all points are closed, they will say, okay, parties would now like to sign the document. So what happened in this case is, I say that we have been negotiating over several nights without sleep. So whilst we understand that the parties would like to now sign the document, it is very important to read it once very carefully, because we have not done a cold reading of this particular document. There could be some issues here and there which could be relevant, which could become a point of litigation in future. Like it happens, it was not of too much of interest or to the commercial guys, but the investment banker said, okay, you take a look, you read it overnight, and in the morning we will sign. So what happened is, I went back to the hotel room, I was reading all the documents. There was a shareholders agreement, share subscription agreement, share purchase agreement. I was reading all of that, and almost it was morning when I finished off all those huge documents and observed that possibly there was nothing too amiss from all of this. Okay. And then I realized that in the boilerplate clauses, the clauses that come right at the end, are most neglected and people do not read it with great interest. I saw that there is one clause which is about which document prevails over the other in case of a dispute. There is a particular clause which is always there in an agreement. And there it was written that in case of a dispute between this document and the other, this document would prevail. And that particular clause was appearing in two different documents. That means in case of a dispute between those two documents, there would have been a fight as to which document prevails over the other. Now look at this. In good times, possibly you will never look at it, but in bad times, that could be the most important clause. And if you would not correct that, it would be a error of a lifetime. So we changed that provision, wrote it correctly, and next morning we had the signing. So again, just emphasizing on the importance of proofreading. Another example is right in front of you, which may be of interest. Panda eats, shoots, and leaves. Look at punctuation related differences. Panda, full stop, large black and white bear-like mammal, comma, native to China, eats, comma, shoots, and leaves. So you can imagine the huge catastrophic difference that it makes. Another example of not writing in plain English. So if you can see, Central Subcommittee Steering Group for the Facilitation of Brevity and Clarity of Language Usage in User Provider Communication Interface, formerly known as the Plain English Group. So with this, I would switch over. As I was mentioning, we can speak a little bit about internships, because whilst we talk a lot about corporate law and how to get in, what are the opportunities, what we forget often is that these days, both from the students' perspective and organizations' perspective, internship is becoming a very, very serious affair. Organizations mostly look at students as prospective employees, and therefore they invest more. They want to see how best they can sort of get out things from them, how they can look at the students as a future prospect employee, what are the qualities there, etc. And from students' side, I think this is a great opportunity, because this is an easy way in to impress and get a land up in a job. But before that, I would pause and I would see if there are questions. I would like to first finish the Q&A, and then would like to talk a little bit about internship, because this will take a little bit of time.
Supratim sir, I'll just like the second session that we have just divided our session into the second part. So the motto of this webinar happens to be a compass to find a better future. and we, I guess, are playing the needles of that particular compass right now. So I'll step in quickly to certain questions, and most of my questions are in relation to the career opportunities under the corporate law. And
Right.
such of the first question is, as we know that CV has an important role in the law student's life, what key elements
Right.
shall a student emphasize on for developing a career path, especially in a corporate world?
Right. So I think CV in any, whether it is corporate or otherwise, I think it plays a very, very critical role, and I will cover a little bit in the presentation later in the latter part. But what is important is, you have to craft your CV in a unidirectional manner. Like, if you are going for a corporate law related job application, if you write that I was good in dancing, and I have done international space law, I have done say international humanitarian law, etc., and that is all that is written in the CV, what do you think the prospective employer should look at and call you for? Right? Whilst all of this could be important, when you are writing it by the by in a different manner, okay, down the order, what you have to make sure is you write the most important and relevant parts up the order in a prominent manner, that what are my corporate law related experiences, what I have done. And when you talk about experiences, be doubly sure that you are really able to answer the questions on that. Suppose someone has written that I have done helped in the due diligence of a particular transaction. You can be rest assured that they would be asked one or two questions about due diligence if it is a corporate law related interview. So if you are completely blank and if you do not even know what due diligence is, it is you are paving a path where you will be trapped yourself. So it is very important that you write the correct things in the correct order, emphasizing appropriately and a very concise manner. Okay, don't write stories around it. And secondly, you should be able to address those if question is asked to the last dot. The more you are able to respond to that in a very specific manner, the better it is. Please understand one thing: no one is expecting you to be a super proficient lawyer when you're beginning your career. But what they're looking at is whatever little you have done, are you able to respond to those questions very clearly and cogently, and you have understood the nuances of law there. So it is not really everything under the sun that would be asked and you need to answer every question there. Okay, but whatever you are writing, you should be 200% sure that you are completely proficient in that, and if there is a digging which happens, you are able to answer those. For example, rofo, rofer, suppose someone writes that I've faced this myself, that I have drafted or assisted in drafting a shareholders agreement, and then the person has written about all of these: rofo, rofer, tag, drag, everything. Now these are technical terms. Okay, if you have written them, you can be almost certain that a question would be asked, can you tell me what are these? And this may not be a very complex question, just simply tell me what you have understood about this. And that day if you fumble that, sorry, I don't know about anything, what you have done is you've really paved your own path into the trap.
Exactly, sir. And I guess if I can just confine your answer, it would be proper, precise, and constructed. So
Yes,
moving to the next.
and be certain of what you have written.
Exactly, sir. Thank you so much. The second question says that as we know that the corporate law has a wider ambit with so many structures into it, the major problem that the student faces in law is the decision to opt for that particular sector. So as you were saying, merger and acquisition, then getting into the other side and getting into the other side. So what are your suggestions to overcome and to be that particular precision into the sector under the corporate law?
Right, I think so. I completely understand it is difficult choice, and many a time students are first pushed into the situation and then they start loving or hating a particular area of corporate law. Okay, my suggestion there is that start doing it much before. Okay, and these days I have seen students are extremely I would say wary and aware of all of these situations. Not in our times, it was not as clear in our heads. I see these days students are working beforehand, and that is a very good thing, because start looking up, start reading things as to what would interest you, what would may not be of interest, etc. Start doing those internships more to gauge that, okay, this area of law, capital markets in corporate law, does that really interest me? Let me see, do a little bit of work on corporate on capital markets, or mergers and acquisitions, will that be of interest, so on and so forth. So basically, like I was giving that example, if you have read majority of the types of books in your library, at least you can identify beforehand that which genre you would like to go for, rather than discovering it on the job.
Um, Thank you so much, sir, for that clarity and other things. The third question is, I guess, the very specific and a topic related and a question. Seeing the present situation of the pandemic of COVID-19, what is your opinion in regards to the opportunities and or challenges for the outgoing students?
See, like I told you, challenges would be there, because there are, of course, higher freezes which are happening right now for obvious business reasons. And these are all business calls that are taken depending on what is required at this hour, what is, what has to wait for a bit and all that. But I seriously do not think that we need to lose heart, because I see a great deal of opportunity at the end of this. As I told you, consolidation, mergers, acquisitions, corporate law related activity, changing laws. Look at the number of laws that are changing right now as you are seated. RBI coming out with their diktats every now and then, SEBI, ROC making change. So all of these, look at the great opportunity that if you are nimble on your feet, if you are learning every day, believe me, the edge that you will have over the others, it is unbelievable. So you just need to be thinking on your feet, working towards capitalizing on this opportunity, and not sit idle and become bogged down with this particular situation and say, oh, now what will happen. No, it's a great opportunity for you to sharpen your skills, look at everyday changes, and if you are able to talk about these in your interview to the management, to the guys who are interviewing you, believe me, they would be amazed to know that you did not sit idle even in these bad days. You were doing your homework, so that the first opportunity that you get, you will trump everyone and go ahead.
With that thing, I guess I quickly come to the next question, which is like more experience-based questions from your end. That with now an experience of more than a decade, what do you feel that the gap in learning at the law school and what is learned and practiced, and how to bridge that particular gap?
You already make me feel quite old, but thank you for the question. Yes, so this is an issue which I think we have been facing for several years, for I would say decades, because the curriculum that we used to have, and when we started working, we saw that there was quite a bit of a difference. Okay, I can talk about my experience that we never had SEBI or FEMA in great detail in our curriculum. And when we started working in corporate law, we saw that is bread and butter. So this is very critical for us to understand that what is required in real life scenario, and accordingly keep molding our curriculum to meet the requirements of the day. There could be some areas which have become redundant, and we continue to harp on those as our primary curriculum related studies. We should try and get rid of them, get new elements. Thankfully, I had done some diploma courses looking at, the changing scenarios in relation to corporate law, and which made me look completely differently at theoretical subject. Also, from a teaching perspective, I believe you should always look at theory and practical symbiotic relationship between the two. So you could have a teacher who's teaching in college, who can give a lot of light, a lot of depth in the theoretical elements, but you should also have a practicing say lawyer, or a practicing person who is coming into your college and giving possibly guest lectures on the real life implications of these. So this symbiotic activity, to my mind, will open up the horizons of the student's mind, that okay, I understand the theory very well, now how do I put it in practice? Okay, when I remember in my college, there was one particular practicing lawyer who used to teach arbitration law. For 3-4 classes, he was teaching one section, section 9. I did not understand that, we have to finish a whole course. Why is this person stuck on one particular section? But when we started working, we realized how important that one section is as compared to many other sections that are there in the arbitration. A simple example, but look at this. This is how you will get a different perspective, both from theory as well as practical perspective.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir. And I guess that also answers my next question, where I was about to ask that what are the roles of the diploma and the certificate courses along with the curriculum for that particular thing.
Yes, so
Moving ahead, I'll request if you can just quickly come to your presentation part of the internships and the other thing that can be related.
right, but if you can just let me know how much time I have, accordingly I will just take this, pace it up or down basically.
So we still have half an hour with us, and I guess for the last 10 to 15 minutes, there have been the questions have been popping up. So
Okay,
during your session, I'll just plan like couple of questions that we can take in last 10 to 15 minutes.
perfect, sounds good. And I think I will get going with the internship related points that I wanted to cover. Again, the reason why I'm covering this is that if you are really looking forward to a great future, a fruitful future, be more focused on these opportunities that you are getting. These are windows of opportunity for you. Choose wisely and do your internships well. And I'll get started now. So what is the first thing that you should do when you're looking at internship? Research about the organization. You can do your online research, which is very easy. Also, speak with previous interns, alumni, etc. Understand it very, very well. Prepare well for the sector, for the team. Go as a specialist and not as a generalist. Suppose you are going into the EIR team and you have no idea, or for example, if you're going into the capital markets team, read up a little bit about the sector, what is happening, etc., so that you don't go as a dud, as a person who has no knowledge and would learn on the job. At least some bit of knowledge if you have beforehand, it will be of great help. Next point is drafting of an internship application. We discussed this a bit in the first phase of our chat. It is very, very critical how you are drafting. We have seen catastrophic mistakes in drafting. For example, one particular law firm got an application from a college student which had written your company throughout. So this was taken as an example and shown that look at the student, the person has not even taken the pain of changing a company to a firm when they know that the person knows that it's written to a law firm. Manner of addressing is extremely important. How you are addressing, how your flow is. Be crisp, be clear in what you're writing, what your objective is. Following up, we all know how difficult it is, that eternal wait, that whether it will come, when it will come, when the response will come, and some of those auto responses which will say your CV is brilliant, we are looking into it, and therefore thereafter nothing happens. So we have to be patient about it, but at the same time we should also try and nudge very politely at relevant times. Clash of two confirmations or not getting any confirmation. I think the trickiest situation in a person's life is if a student's life is two internship confirmations are both are good. How to handle that? Okay, how to politely discuss this out, and possibly not end up in a situation where one organization blacklists you because you had not communicated that I am not coming for your internship. First day at office, when you get an opportunity, learn about your surroundings very well, because as I told you, some of the organizations at least look at you very, very seriously in internship, during internship. So you should be aware, just like an office employee, you should sort of acquaint yourself with the surroundings. IT systems, library, printers, research tools, pantry etiquettes, you should be able to gauge all of that in the first couple of days, so that you don't make a fool out of yourself and you make others comfortable to give you work. Confidentiality is extremely important. Do not gossip about matters that you're doing, client names that have been matters. I have seen many CVs which come about in and which has got internship details written, with all the client names which were handled during the internship. That is absolutely no. There are prohibition of insider trading related aspects, but confidentiality is extremely important. Ethics and integrity, do not take out papers, be very secretive, and confidentiality should be maintained about the work that is being given to you. Timeliness, regardless of others. Okay, for example, asking for can I leave early, be on time, being on time, all of this is very important. If you want to leave early, do take proper permission, or if you're coming in late, do take permission about that as well. Dress code, very important. In student days, what I see is people are mostly, say, doing internship in a different city, and where there is a problem of, say, cleaning clothes, ironing, etc., but unfortunately you have to take care of it. You are being judged from top to tip to toe, so therefore you have to ensure that you are properly attired when you are going for your internship. Etiquettes are very important. Do not loiter around with your mobile phone and constantly be chatting. I'm telling you, there are people who are watching you, and there is a subtle negative message about you which could float. Because mostly organizations, after the internship is over, there is a feedback paper which is, or feedback form which is circulated to the team or otherwise, and people do keep this noted, and this goes into the system mostly, which remains forever with the organization, whether for your next internship application, or when you have applied for a job, this could be pulled out. Cleanliness, not being looking zoned out, look diligent, courteous, formal or informal, whether it depends on the organization whether you will wear a tie, etc., or not. Do not stink. No food with odors, very critical elements, I'm telling you, because there have been catastrophic mistake by interns. There was one particular law firm where non-vegetarian food was not allowed. I'm aware that there was a, by mistake, maybe the intern had called for a non-veg food. The entire office had to be shut down. They had cleaning operations done, etc. So you can imagine that how important it is to look diligent. I completely understand again that there are possibilities that many times students are in a different city, and therefore it is difficult to be absolutely prim and proper, but to the largest extent possible, do that, because this will count towards the end. Okay, try not to fall sick. What we have observed again is that many students, out of their zeal to do more, possibly working overnight, etc., fall sick, or being in a different city, eating things which should not be otherwise had, fall sick, things like these. So just try and not fall sick, because this is an opportunity that you've got after a lot of toil. You would not like to let it go just like that. Ordering lunch or dinner, you have to be again cautious as to what is the general protocol. Is there a canteen? Is there a pantry? Can you really order from outside? What is the eating area? Simple tips. Level of socializing, I have seen many a times after the internship is over, the students would go and send social media requests, say on Facebook, etc. You have to understand the social platforms are slightly different as compared to professional platforms. Possibly a LinkedIn request is still fine, but a Facebook or other social media related requests of such nature should be very carefully gauged. Judging the judge, one size will not fit all. So you have to understand the senior you are working with. What works well for one may not be working for all. Some of them may be very pally and friendly with you. Some may be extremely cost conscious about how you are behaving, and maintaining that particular distance. So you have to gauge that very well. Take notes whilst work is being given. So don't look around. Of course, our memory is not infallible, so it's better that you take down proper notes when work is being given, so that you don't falter later on. Check the urgency of deliverables beforehand. An issue of chasing work deadline should not arise, basically. So whenever you're getting the work, just politely ask, by when do you require it, sir, ma'am? Accordingly you can pace up it up or down, prioritize it, etc. Ask queries whilst it is being given, the work is being given to you, and soon thereafter, not at the end of the deadline. Suppose the night when you're told to give the response, at that time you go back and ask a simple stupid question, it would be it is quite damaging for your reputation as well. So if there is a question which comes up right at the time when it is being work is being given, ask at that time, or right after that, whenever you come across that question. Don't wait till the end. Research and prepare your notes. This is going to be helpful not only now but for future as well. Quality research and drafting, getting involved in projects which are important. See, the more you are able to show that you are important, you are doing good work, you would be made part of important projects, etc. Try and get involved in those. Okay, you will really make a difference, and people, you can possibly stand out. And if people are looking for a future prospect employee, possibly you would be selected because you really did very good in a particular important project. Ask for work. Please do not sit idle. There would be situations where no one would know that you won't have work, but be proactive. Reach out to the people in the office, ask for work, and I'm sure that that could help you getting some work which was otherwise lying, and possibly people did not know that you are not available, you are available, and therefore did not give you. Worst case, research on an article and don't be busy on social media. Okay, I'm telling you, I have written some of the best articles during my internship days. Some of them have gone ahead to win medals because of the resources that are available in the firm. You can easily utilize, and you can really do good. And if you are able to project this to that organization, possibly they would be extremely happy that you could possibly co-author a nice article with one of the partners or seniors. Interns presentation, some of the organizations have this towards the end, should be very impactful. Discuss before with your office or team members how you're progressing, how it should be taken, and keep it crisp. I'm telling you, this sometimes has a very good impact. Leave a lasting impression. Okay, do a good job, and so that people do remember. And final goodbyes are very, very important. Before you leave, ensure you meet everyone, say a final goodbye, and so that people do keep you in mind. With that, I will close. I believe I have kept enough time for questions, so we can get started with the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much for that lovely presentation. And I guess major of them would also apply for a student at a law school as well, for not using mobiles and not being on social medias and other things. So thank you so much, sir. And with that, I guess we can move across with certain of the questions that have been popped up by the attendees. The first and the foremost, I guess this happens to be a first year student who says that how can we plan the best of our internships from the very first years, and with the quality and the qualification. That was asked by Naman Gulecha. So if we can just address his query, sir, first.
Right. Naman, very good question, and I think this pops up in the heads of several first-year students. That how do I craft my way forward? And it is good that the question comes up in your head in the first year, rather than in the fifth year, when there is very little that you can do about it. Several of the colleges have their own protocols or processes set as to what you should be doing in the first semester, after second semester, first year, second year, etc. But in your head, understand this very clearly. Possibly in the first and the second year, you would not be knowing too much about law or legal nuances. If you land up in a, say, hardcore tier one law firm with little knowledge of law, it could just be too damaging for you, because and you have to appreciate that possibly that you do not have that much acumen of law, and if you are straight away put into that ring or fire, you may not be able to cope very well, and you would leave a bad impression there. A nice and good way of doing it is start from the lowest level. Possibly first understand, go to the courts first. That could be one nice way, because see, even when we talk about corporate laws, if you do not have a view or vision of how these documents are looked at when it goes to a court, it is half knowledge that you have. Okay, you can do a lot of nice drafting by copy pasting from some foreign draft which is available online, but if you do not know how the courts are looking at it in India, it is of no use. So therefore, it's a very nice and graded way to look at things, like say go to the lower courts first, understand, or commercial courts, where understand how things are being looked at, slowly graduate up to smaller law firms, go to smaller corporate offices, then larger corporate offices and law firms, so on and so forth. So if you chart your way well, by the end of say third, fourth year, you have already understood what is that area that really interests me. Okay, which has been of interest out of all of this. What did I really like? And I'm ready to do this for the entire of my life. Okay. Secondly, when you land up in say the best of organization towards the end of third, fourth year, you are superbly equipped. I have come across students, I'm telling you, there are N brands and non-N brands. There's a lot of discussion and deliberation on that. I was working in my office, and there was a government law college student who had come up and told me that, sir, I'm able to help you. What do you need? I said that, you know what, we have an in-house company secretary. If you can just take this name and of this company, pull out all the records, tell him to, he will help you in pulling out all the records of this company. Can you review these documents and tell me about, say, share capital, how it was issued, shares were issued? This guy, to my surprise, tells me that, sir, I have my own password and username for MCA website, because I have been doing this for very long. Because during the daytime, I used to, in the morning, I used to go to college, and during the daytime, I've been doing internship. So this due diligence I have been doing for very long. You won't believe a second year or third year student. I don't recollect exactly whichever, but he was quite junior. He exactly knew what documents to be pulled out, how it is to be pulled out, what has to be looked at. This is amazing skill sets which have been developed just because the person has been doing this in a very graded manner over a long span of time. So you have to be industry ready, and this is a nice way of becoming industry ready.
Thank you so much, sir. And I guess with one answer, you have answered a couple of more questions that were just popping up. That that is it necessary to have a corporate internship or a job being in NLU and not in an N place? So I guess it's more of the skill-based thing that can be
Absolutely,
developed.
absolutely. Please do not get at all, this is just the first stepping stone, possibly, that, it is just an add-on, I would say. But what is most relevant is really, what is that skill set that you have? How much are you able to attend to the industry need, rather than being a chair philosopher of reading the books? If you are able to show that you have the acumen of law, you have read up the law, at the same time you have done hands-on experience is there, I'm telling you, you will be a winner.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. The next question comes with the communication skills, particularly that what exactly is the role and something which is not reflected in a CV. So, how does a role of communication skills, particularly that of English, comes into play?
Communication, to my mind, is extremely important in any sphere today. Okay. What we feel, and I truly believe, maybe this is not the appropriate way of putting it, but you have to sell. At the end of it, we have to sell ourselves also. It is, we might have a bucket full of knowledge, but if we are not able to project this appropriately, I'm telling you, we may not be able to land up in that coveted job, because we were not able to project the knowledge that we have. So it is very important, to my mind, to articulate things properly. English, of course, happens to be one of the important mediums, but also what is important is to put it forth in a very crisp, logical manner. Today, the attention span of people have gone down below goldfish. So it is, you have to quickly get the attention of the individual and prepare yourself accordingly. There is something called an elevator pitch. How quickly you can grab the attention and make your pitch that this is the reason why I should be inducted.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question comes that we really have been challenging to get into good law firms without any contacts. So your take on that, that if a student may generally be in the first generation lawyers or someone like that, how for them, or your tips on those students to enter into for their internships or for jobs into good law firms?
So just to make, pacify everyone, and give a nice example, I am a first generation lawyer, number one. Number two, I am from non-N brand, and I happen to be a partner in Khaitan and company right now. but I never, thought of this in my head as inhibitions or, things that can stop me. I thought of it that, okay, I may be having some limitations and I do not have any contacts. I will tell you how I built my contacts really. So when I was studying in the first year of law, there was a very reputed and renowned lawyer who used to come and teach contract act to us. So in the first year itself, in the first 6 months odd, I started speaking, made some nice notes for him. He really liked me. He said that, why don't you come over to my office one day? So I went to his office, spoke to him, and he said that, why don't you do your internship with me? So the first 6 months I hardly knew anything. I said, okay sir, I will come to your office. So in the first semester break, okay, I did not come back home. I worked with him in Pune for almost 3 months. Even after my college was open, I used to go to college in the first half and then go to him. And for 3 long months, I worked with him. And thankfully, I kind of became uh, everything in his office, because one of his junior who was working in that office had to go to Singapore for studying further studies. So what I realized in those days is that what is more important is hands-on experience. There would be all these issues pertaining to, say, in brand, non-in brand, not landing up. So what happened is, after he liked my work, he said that, why don't you go to Bombay? One of my known person is working in Bombay High Court. I said, very good, sir. Thank you. I will write to him. Please give me email ID. So I took the email ID, wrote to the person. My next internship was in Bombay. When Bombay High Court, I kind of helped him. When I was helping him with his matter, uh, I realized that one of his client was, Larsen and Toubro. So I happened to go with him for some meetings, and there this gentleman who's expired now. His name is Mr. Girish Gokhale. He was a top-notch person, I think, with great caliber. He said that he really liked my approach and work, and said, why don't you come for your next internship to our office? And the next office, therefore, I went to is Larsen and Toubro. When I was working for Larsen and Toubro, once we briefed Mullah and Mullah for one of our matters, Mr. Dandiwala, who was the senior partner there I came across, spoke with him, and got the next internship there. So that is just very long and short. That was the journey, and you believe me, I had no contacts. I just worked and worked.
I guess the students wouldn't have got a better example, and I guess a live example from a person who has like been, I guess, the best physical example of all the 3 4 queries which we were noting across. Thank you so much, sir. The next question comes that now, being on the other side of it, so as a recruiter, as a partner in the firm, what are your key aspects on which you search or you take a student for intern or for a probable job?
Sorry, can you elaborate a little more?
So I guess
Yeah.
the person is like in a CV or in something, that what exactly are the areas that
Hmm.
as a recruiter or
Hmm.
as something, is it more of an HR thing, or does the partners have to say on that particular thing?
No, so firstly, you have to understand, and it is also important in light of the present day situation, that a recruitment is a function of business also. Okay, what is the need? What do we need? We may be needing, say, 5 people in merger and acquisition, and 2 people in securities law, or and maybe one person in competition law. This is all a function of how business is evolving. What are the requirements? Have there been departures in the firm there because of which we need people? Things like this. And every industry is, of course, different, and you have to gauge it accordingly. But after a decision is made that, okay, we need, say, 5 people in corporate, then it is a function of both HR and the technical skills that are required by a lawyer. So like I told you, therefore, it's very important to craft your CV properly and be prepared for the question answer also appropriately. Both from a softer skills perspective and technical knowledge perspective. Okay. Like I told you, if you have, say, half a page of dancing, singing, art, music, I don't think that you're doing the right thing, because see, again, your CV should ideally be one side or maximum two sides. Don't write theories about yourself. No one is interested. But whatever you write, ensure that you are completely on top of those things.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful insight. I guess this is one of the most interesting questions that we have received right now. This says that what is the impact of a geographical location? For example, we belong to state of Madhya Pradesh where we do not have corporate law cultures. So, what is the impact of the geographical locations on like how to approach a firm and other things for that?
Do you know where I'm seated right now? I don't know how many students know where I'm seated right now. I'm seated in Calcutta, students, and I am doing top-notch mergers and acquisitions, and I'm doing top-notch technology work, which is mostly a Bangalore-based thing, or maybe Delhi or Gurgaon, Noida, or Bombay-based work. Of course, I've been, for the very, very long time, I have been in Bombay, and I exactly know the culture. But believe me, the world has been flattened in every scenario right now. It does not matter where you are. Okay, we have been doing the biggest of the transactions sitting here. So for example, I have done the Usha Martin Tata Steel deal, where Tata Steel acquired Usha Martin, which is one of the topmost transactions in the country last year. We've been doing a lot of those Reliance Geo transactions sitting here on the tech front. It absolutely does not matter so long as you are keeping your eyes and ears open and learning. Thankfully, with this COVID situation, another good thing that has happened is location does not matter wherever you are seated. But you have to learn. If you are not having that acumen of learning, and if you are just getting very bogged down that, oh, I am in the central part of India where corporate law does not exist, you would see that the world that way, and you will continue to see the world that way. I would urge you to see the world differently, that the whole world is now on the same platter, same plane.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess with the paucity of time, this would be the last question. What exactly is, or during this present time of COVID-19, how can we as students capitalize, because our physical internship period is nearly on the verge of being loosed across. So are there opportunities like virtual internships or online internships or the webinars that are being attended? How are those particular things useful for us as students?
Yeah, so firstly, yes, there are opportunities. I've been, looking at LinkedIn. Go there, you would find enough and more opportunities of online internships which are happening. Number one. Number two, webinars are galore. I'm telling you, some of the courses which were extremely expensive are being given for free right now. Take that opportunity, find it out that what you really would like to do, and what is of interest. Even international universities are giving free courses, so go for those. But again, do not junk yourself with anything and everything. This is another death by webinar which I'm observing right now, that people are trying to go into anything and everything. You will just lose your mental sanity. Do not do that. Chart out a path that is of interest, what would be really relevant, and accordingly go ahead and do that.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess that would be all from the attendees' question that we can have. I'll just take very quickly, if I
Yeah.
could be like just asking you in less than 3 minutes, that how or what exactly would be one guru mantra or certain very valuable piece of advices to the attendees in this particular webinar.
Okay, so I don't think I am, that big or that important that I can give Guru Mantra. But what I can tell you from my own life, you heard a lot about my life and how I have progressed, is that do not be scared of situations like what you are facing right now. It always come with a silver lining. Prepare very well for a good day, because that opportunity which will possibly come once or possibly twice. But if you are not ready for that day, and if you are just ruining right now and wasting your time, the only person to be held responsible would be you. So therefore, I have told, I think whatever I had to tell, I hope that you will have takeaways from there. But do not lose heart. I see this as a great opportunity for people to calm down, take a relook at their life and what they want to do with their life. We were all running in a rat race, okay? But there is no point in a rat, even coming first in a rat race, you will be called a rat only. Okay, don't run on a, please do not run in a treadmill. You would not come first that way. If you have to really come first, step back. This is a great hour to think, introspect into things, what you really want to become in life, what has been your interest, what can sustain you, what you can do lifelong. Think about that and accordingly proceed. There is enough and more opportunity, and after this situation is over, I'm telling you, we will soon bounce back to normal life, and I would say do even better perhaps in certain spheres of law. Watch out for those areas and go for those. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Supratim sir. It was a wonderful time, and I cannot tell you how well the 1 hour got away. So, thank you so much for such beautiful insights, and I hope that the attendees and their doubts both have been resolved. We'll stay in touch, Supratim sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
once again on behalf of the entire university and from JLU School of Law. I, Dr. Deevanshu Shrivastava, thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone. Thanks.
Yes.